Welcome to Bothering the Band. I'm Abby, and with me, as always, is our happy host, Ryan. The bassist for this episode is incredible bassist Syd Butler, who you may know from indie rock band Savy Fav, as well as the 8G band on The Late Show with Seth Meyers. This episode features great stories, funny jokes, and a surprise appearance from Syd's daughter Lila, who is equally as talented in her own right. So, load the dishwasher the correct way, grab a slice of cake, kick back, and tune in. You're not going to want to miss this.
Hello, Syd.
Hi, everybody.
What's up, man?
Living the dream.
Well, welcome to Bothering the Band. Let's get this out of the way. Tell the people what play you ditched us for a month ago.
It was my daughter's play. I believe.
No way. Was it really?
I believe so. My daughter was Beauty. She was Gaston in her school production of Beauty and the Beast.
Oh my goodness. I thought you were just got like cool guy tickets for like Broadway.
I might be confusing, but that's sort of the play of the moment. We go and see a lot of plays. So I can't be that specific. It might have been the play right now that's at BAM. God, I'm such a pretentious theater asshole. It might be this play we saw at BAM. Yeah, it's so Brooklyn.
You're so Brooklyn. However, if it is your daughter's play, I totally get that. My daughter was just Charlie in Willy Wonka.
Nice.
And that was a huge deal. People flying in from all over. So, if it's a production at BAM and you went all Brooklyn, then no excuses. But the other one, we'll let it slide.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with my daughter's play.
Okay. So settle. Well, it's not even a bet. Just can you say the name of the band you're in?
The 8G band?
No.
Les Savy Fav.
Okay, cool.
But you can't say it wrong. So we were a bunch of pretentious RISD kids, and we just said, let's come up with a fake French name. And the guitarist at the time was named, or is still named, Gibbs Life, and he came up with the idea, and we kind of stuck with it.
I love it, and I've loved your band. I remember the first time I heard your band, I was in Orlando. I was downtown Orlando, Florida, and my friend Dan Morton said, check out this awesome band. This is in 2004, 5, I don't know. And it's one of those things, and Abby and I have discovered this. We have bands that we love on, our musicians, and then we start second guessing how we've been saying these things because we've never heard it from the mouths of the musicians themselves. And we're like, maybe we're wrong.
We were in Japan and they called us Wasabi Fav. We've had a lot of different, you can't do it wrong.
Okay.
We kind of agreed to that idea that if people come out and they buy our merch and they say, the Savy Fav or the Savy Fav, then great, whatever works for you. We're just happy that you like our music.
Oh man, well, we do love your music. And the other band you're in is the Seth Meyers 8G band with a sometimes, well, he's our mutual friend, all the time mutual friend, but he's sometimes in the band, Fred Armisen.
Love Fred to death.
Yeah, he's such a sweetheart, and he was on the pod, and it's just a total geek fest of music and love of music.
Speaking of my daughter, this is her dinner. Hold on one quick second. I just have to get the door so the dogs don't eat the dinner.
Yes.
I can still talk. Yes, so it's dinner for my daughter.
What's for dinner for your daughter?
She ordered some pierogies. She's not eating meat for Lent. And my wife made this delicious meal, but it had some seafood in it, and my daughter's like, don't you know that I'm not eating? I was like, okay, just take it down a notch.
How old is your daughter?
She's 16.
Okay. I was like, wow, I automatically, my daughter's 8. I went 8 in my mind for your daughter. I was like, wow, she's really into Lent, I guess.
No, she's just trying it out. She's just she's trying it out. My daughter was born wanting as much life as possible, and she just drinks it up. She kind of has a photographic memory, so it's a blessing and a curse because you cannot give her enough information because she just takes it all in, and then once that's consumed, then she wants more. But then she complains that she's tired and needs a break. But then when she's has a break, she's like, "What's wrong? I need more stuff. I need stimulation." But yeah, she's a pretty phenomenal kid.
Oh man, that's lovely and poetic. And
But going back to your 8, in my mind, she's still like 8 or 9.
yeah, I wish I could freeze it.
Yeah.
Freeze it. Let's get to the nitty gritty here because right before you logged on, Abby was talking about this. What kind of deodorant do you use?
That's a really good question. I use a cologne.
Okay.
That I when I was in college, I had some very fancy friends, and they said, "Oh, you need to have a scent that's your scent." And I was like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." Probably just had like a cheap cologne, deodorant stick at the time. And so she took me shopping, and we tried all these scents, and then there was one that stuck. I was like, "Oh, this I kind of likes." So that's been my cologne that I've worn since 94. And
what
then
is it?
It's it's Luoma by Boss, Hugo Boss. It's actually a pain in the ass now because it's really hard to find. So I have to order like a couple when I see them. It's a very musky scent.
And
then
deodorant? Yeah.
I don't, sometimes I used to use this deodorant called Fa, F-A. It's a European brand. And then they went out of, or the scent that I liked went out of business. And then sometimes I just use it with my wife's or what the show has.
Okay.
I'm not really thinking about it too much. I used to think about it a lot and I stopped.
That means life is good. If you're not, thinking about deodorant and which lavender scent to use. Sorry, that was a throwback.
Yeah, no, I have a lot of scents, but I try not to wear too much. If I start stinking, I have like a Menin or some sort of Dove thing that I have in case I'm stinking it up. I have a thing when I fly where I have like a different stink when I fly.
We all do.
So I always carry deodorant when I fly because I don't want to ruin the experience for the passenger next to me.
There's something about travel that makes everyone slightly greasy. It could be New York to New Jersey, like the shortest possible trip, and you're gonna get a little stinky and just greasy. That's how I feel after travel.
Yeah, I always have a deodorant in my bag. Whatever I just have, I'll just put it on before I get on the plane.
Yeah. Well, this is a good fraction of what these questions are going to be like. So get ready.
I'm here.
Okay. On your phone, do you have the haptics on?
The what?
The haptics. Do you know what the haptics are?
I don't.
It's the little clickety click when you text. So if you're texting, it goes like that, right?
Did you make a sound?
I did.
No.
Does it make like clack, 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 clack?
Yeah, that's what I did.
I mean, sometimes I have it on, but I know what you mean. I think I have it on, but I'm 50 and I kind of, things on my phone are by happy accidents or happy headaches. So I'm just kind of like, oh, if it's on, I'll hand it to someone if it's annoying me.
That brings two things. One, you look great for 50. Two, I agree with you. I don't like the sounds. I think even ringtones, I think even outgoing voicemails, we all know what to do. It should just beep. We know what to do by this point. It's like a seatbelt. If you don't know how to put a seatbelt on, you need to get hit in the face with a hammer. I
had the same problem with ATM machines. If someone doesn't know how to put an ATM card in and work an ATM machine after this many years, it's just such a trigger for me. Guys, it's 4, 5. How many numbers? Come on.
Unless they're like super, like 20 now, who they have never needed to use an ATM.
That's also weird. The
Very weird.
people that lived in we live in a house at the bottom. We had the top 2 floors, and the bottom floor, they paid with lemonade. I mean, not the drink. There's like an insurance company called Lemonade. Everything was digital on an app. They have no paperwork. They had nothing to hand in. Everything was just on this app. I was like, God, that is so. My wife does like meticulous notes of her bills and circles and organizes everything perfectly. And this guy's just like, oh, it's on my app. Here it is. Holds it up.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
And then back to your happy accidents. My older sister was just visiting, and she's 50 as well. She's a little bit behind in the times, though. I feel like you're probably a little bit ahead of her. And but we came together on this thing where, you know, our phones do so much.
Yeah.
There's a couple times where someone be like, "Oh, you don't know how to do this," and you feel like an idiot. But it doesn't come with instructions anymore. And there are moments where you're like, how am I supposed to know this unless someone tells me this?
I agree with you 100%. Someone's like, oh, you got to do the 2-hour tutorial. I'm like, I don't have 2 hours.
What? That's
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. Here's the update. Okay, dude, great. I'm glad to update it. Yeah, I wish I had that time.
That's another thing. Don't ask me. Just update.
Yeah.
The phone, my computer did it today. Do you want to update? And I'm like in the middle of working and writing your questions. And do you want to update? I'm like, not at the moment, but like, can you just do it while I'm asleep?
Yeah. Technology.
Now it's turning an old guy podcast, and Abby, too cool for school over here, being like, ew, old fuckers.
I know. Abby, thank God that you're younger.
She is 8 days older than me.
But younger in heart. That's what I meant to say. She's younger in her spirit.
Oh, 100% too. Like,
Yeah.
You know, she's moisturized. Her skin's great. It's glowing. It's a whole thing. Plato or Socrates?
Oh my God, that's such a good question.
I know.
That's a good question. I'm gonna go with Plato.
Any particular reason?
I could go with Socrates, and I could go back and forth. Like my brain is ping ponging like this. For the people that are listening, my hands are going back and forth in a rapid succession.
Also, for people listening, you have a bandage or something on your finger.
I have a broken finger.
Oh, devils.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
I have a friend who has a jiu-jitsu school in Park Slope.
Okay.
He's a lovely guy named Mark. And he asked me to come by and do like a beginner class with some of people who had just started. And I'm not like a big jiu-jitsu guy. I respect the sport highly. I think it's awesome, but I wish I'd started it years ago. But so I helped him in this beginner class, and this guy that was his first day was learning to pass a guard and had to push my hand out of the way. But instead of pushing my hand out of the way, grabbed my finger and broke it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's been a pain in the ass.
I mean, for a musician, that must not be ideal.
No, I've had to play a lot of stupid bass lines the last month. Very simple. I'm like, bump, 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 bump.
Do you do any other form of exercise or any sports or anything like that?
I do a martial art called Krav Maga.
Okay.
Been doing that for a while and enjoy that. I love ice hockey. Whenever I can play ice hockey, that's my go-to. I love ice hockey.
Nice. Abby, who's winning your hockey match right now?
I'm not looking because it wasn't my team last time I looked.
Abby is a Tampa Bay Lightning fan.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They're a great team. Oh, you guys had a great run. I mean, come on. You have so many good players. I could talk about your team for an hour.
So could I.
Who's your team?
Unfortunately, it's the Washington Capitals.
Ooh.
Okay. Well, you just had a cup not too long. When was that?
We had it 2018.
All right. That's 5 years. Holy shit.
Yeah. But it's complicated. But yeah, I'm a Capitals fan, diehard Capitals fan.
Okay. Leno or Letterman?
Oh, Letterman. No question, Letterman.
Okay. There are no wrong answers on Bothering the Band. However, that is the right answer.
That's the right answer. Anyone that's like, yeah, Leno, I'd be like, yeah, no. David Cross is a friend of mine. He has a really funny stand-up bit where he talks about ordering food at a restaurant. And he, of course, he does this joke way better than I am paraphrasing his joke. But basically, you should always ask the server what they recommend. He finds himself being like, oh, yeah, I don't know what to get. Maybe I'll ask the server. The server comes over and he's like, hey, do you like the pork or the chicken? But he wants to add a new question, which is, what's your favorite band?
I love it.
Because then if they say, oh, 311, they're going to get the steak. Like whatever. So I feel like that question is, oh, hey, do you like Letterman or Leno? Which do you like better, the pork or the steak? Oh, I love the Leno. Yeah, I want to go with the Letterman.
Oh, that's such a good barometer about the value of other people's, like, I don't know, input.
Yeah.
So David Cross was on the pod as well.
Nice.
He was on it twice, actually. We did a live show in your neck of the woods in Brooklyn at Littlefield.
Perfect.
When was that? July last year. And he was gracious enough to ride his bike and hang out. We love David.
He's the best.
And then that reminds me of something. If you remember our other mutual, we're just name dropping.
Boom, boom.
Fred on Comedians in Cars asked Jerry Seinfeld what music like revs your engine. And do you remember what he said, Abby? Do you remember this?
I don't. Mm-mm.
Well, Jerry said, I think he said Steely Dan.
Oh, wow.
Which is, it is what it is. And but this also makes me think of if anyone has ever suggested something to you and this person you don't, I'm trying to put this politely, you don't give a shit about their opinion, like they just suck. I'm gonna say this: my Uncle Stan, he's a sweetheart, but he's an idiot, and he's told me 1,000 times to watch Ray Donovan. And I'm sure that's a great show, but because of who's suggesting it, I'll never watch it ever in a million years.
Yeah, I think, I hear you. There've been people in my life like that for sure.
You're like, yeah, but I just back to what you were saying, man, that's such a clever way. And what you were saying is like, okay, what's the best thing on the menu? Also Letterman or Leno.
Yeah.
And you have to answer it pretty quick.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to request another server depending on what you say.
Yeah. David's joke is like, and she's like, oh, my favorite band's 311. Okay, cool. It's like, he has a way of finding the worst. Yeah. Okay.
Do you have a guilty pleasure band like that you would be afraid to tell David Cross that you like?
The problem I have with myself is that I'll tell David or people who I highly respect, I'll just blurt it out. And the amount of criticism and blowback I get is sort of part of the joke of our relationship or the shtick. So I gotta go, I'm just gonna say it. And Fred teases me about this too. Like I'll walk in a room and be like, hey, you guys, I just heard the new blah, blah, blah song. And they're all like, oh, dude, what are you doing? But what is my guilty pleasure band? Oh, you know what? Les Mis, the soundtrack to Les Mis.
Oh, okay. But how can you make? I see. I'm on board for that.
Yeah, every time it comes on, I'm like right in there. My kids are big theater nerds, so we're just like going for it. My wife is just like, shoot me. A couple months ago, during the pandemic, they had like the 20th anniversary of like all the famous Jean Valjeans and my daughter and I just stopped what we were doing and just sat there and just cried and sang and goofed around. So yeah, the soundtrack to Les Mis is absolutely my guilty pleasure.
I mean, I'm not even going to count it. I mean, I hear you, I respect it, but I think there's no guilt. Should be no guilt involved in that. The flip side, do you find yourself, and you can be honest, judging other people? I live in Florida now, I wish I were in Brooklyn. I wish I could shoot the shit with people who really knew music. Abby and I consider ourselves pretty knowledgeable. And, we're, this as a dad, sometimes you're mixed with people that have nothing in common with you other than the fact that they made babies at the same fucking time. And, someone be like, oh, you like music? Have you heard of what's it called? What's their name? Bon Jovi? And I'm like,
Yeah.
And this is a real story. And I'm like, did you just suggest Bon Jovi to me?
Yeah.
Like I hadn't heard of that? Bananas. So back to the question. Do you have this happen?
Working on the show, Seth Meyers, we have this great program that this guy, Eric Lederman and Fred started, where we have a new drummer every week. And we'll have drummers that grew up in a jazz house, went to jazz school, came out playing jazz. They don't know the world that we live in at all. And to be respectful to them, I don't know their world. But we have to write original songs every day. And so we work very, very quickly. And I've known everyone in the band for a very long time. And we have the sort of a shorthand in how we write. But these drummers come in and we'll be like, hey, play like a Who beat, like, or play a Cure, a Joy Division kind of tight or Devo thing. And they look at me like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And like, okay, like the Stones, okay, like just like tight, just keep it, Charlie Watts, like, who are the Stones? And you're just like, what? How do you not know who the Rolling Stones are?
Wow.
And they'll be like, kind of, do you know who blah, 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 blah is? I'm like, no. And he's like, oh, he's only the most famous bass player or like most famous jazz trio of all times. And I'm like, if it's not Mingus or, like, if it's not them, then I don't know. So, it's but going back to your point, yes, it happens all the time.
Yeah, I can't. It hurts. And
It hurts.
felt like I would get more patient in my old age with this stuff, but I just had like 3 days ago, I said, I was talking about Wilco and someone said, who's Wilco? And I was like, I can't help you, but you should just go listen. Just go to Spotify and listen to Wilco. And this was a musician. So real shame.
That's curious to me. My other complaint, now that we're in the complaint zone, is Spotify or Apple Music. They'll be like, years ago when all this stuff started happening, you'd have like a catalog, let's say Modest Mouse. Hey, Lonesome Crowded West comes up, and people just listen to the first 2 songs.
Mm-hmm.
And as a music fan, you want to listen to the whole thing. So going back to Wilco or going back to whatever, John Bon Jovi, how do you have so much knowledge in the world, you have such access to the best bands, rarities, singles, live stuff. How do you not want to consume it? But I guess if you're not a music person, it just doesn't excite you. Or you just don't know. I don't have an answer.
I was going to make a joke and say, who's Modest Mouse? But
It's cool. They're just bands. All right.
Do you think it's an attention? I think it's an attention span. Abby and I have talked about this a lot because our generation, like our parents just, would put on Zeppelin and Stones and that's what we listened to. Same with TV. It was like, we watched what was on,
Right.
And that's how we fell in love with like crazy weird shit like Mr. Bean and Kids in the Hall and all this weird, subversive shit. And now there's so much stuff that kids don't have to really settle. Therefore, I think it's almost like a they're doing their own like generational disservice.
Agreed. And being a parent, my wife and I are very into music and care about all that stuff. So we'll like buy a record. Now you're gonna listen to this whole record. I will buy you any music you want, but you have to listen to it from start to finish. My daughter listened to Appetite for Destruction last night for the first time, and her mind was blown.
In a good way?
Totally. She's like, this is the best thing I've ever heard. This is, and then we got in this whole debate about bands where their first record, their sort of coming out record was a perfection. And then she's like, wants us to have like a second whole area of her record collection that's just the best of the first, the coming out record section.
Yeah,
I was like, that's a great idea.
that's good.
And we just went down a rabbit hole, like, hey, Fugazi, 13 songs.
Oh
It was just so much fun to play in that world.
man, I'm so happy to say I just got a Fugazi shirt not too long ago, like a couple weeks ago. Now in my brain, I stopped listening to it and I started thinking of first perfect. And I know Abby did the same thing. Did you think of one?
I didn't.
Oh yeah, it's tough. That's homework. That's like, I will deliver this to you tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we kind of had a brief funeral from Arcade Fire. I think that's a perfect first record.
Yeah.
Something that exploded. Interpol, Southern Bright Lights, pretty magical
Very
record.
cool.
But like huge bands like Guns N' Roses style, I was struggling.
Yeah,
it usually takes a band 3 or 4 records to sort of kick it going.
My brain goes to Operation Ivy, but they only have one record.
Still
Right.
counts.
Still counts.
That's a good one. You can put that on the list.
So my daughter, weirdly enough, when she was super young, it was she gravitated towards reggae music. I don't know what it was.
Bass lines.
Oh yeah, something in there. And then we have this little thing now where if she's steamed about something, we'll punk rock it out in the car. So we'll put on punk rock music and
Nice.
rock out. And she, obviously she likes that band Linda's and gravitates towards the female singers, but it's pretty cool. And she's a musical theater kid too now. But that's cool to see, man. Good for you for making your kid do homework. I love it.
Yeah, no, they have musical homework all the time. It's just my house. This is the way it is.
That's great because it's second nature. Again, Abby texted me today. She's like, I need inspiration. And I just like, here you go. I sent her one like joke band. And then I really put some thought into like 3 or 4 other bands. I was like, here you go. Get you through
Nice.
your day. Taking it very seriously. All right. You mentioned Seth. Have you day drank with Seth Meyers?
Not on the show. We've gone out and had dinner together. We dinner drank. But no, he'd be curious to know. I'd be curious to know if he did the HG band. That'd be funny.
Yeah, if someone ever bails on that sketch or that bit, you can step in.
Yeah, maybe someone and out they should tweet in or submit it. Hey, you should just get to know your own band, dude.
Write that down, Ryan.
There you go.
Everybody bother Seth the show and say you should day drink with your band. But those guys have some stories.
Perfect. Done. Will do.
But Seth is great. Seth Meyers is a great human being. I have dinner drank with him is just good. It's also good.
It's so weird. Maybe you can explain this from the other side because we asked Fred this, the cross section or the relationship between comedy and music. And it's almost like subliminal to me because I love both of those worlds. I'm in neither of them professionally, but I love them both equally. And then to see like the crossover, what do you like attribute that to?
I was a huge Mr. Show fan, massive Mr. Show fan. And years ago when the sort of Brooklyn scene was bubbling up, there were all these places to play and all these venues. And there was this festival in Coney Island that we played and he was there. This is 20 years ago. And God, the list was amazing. Anyway, so David was there just hanging out because he loved music.
Mm-hmm.
And all these comedians that were there all loved music. And so I met him there and we just sort of started hanging out and became friends through that first moment. But he did this thing called Tinkle, which was in the Lower East Side, where it was John Benjamin and Todd Barry. And they would host a night and invite comedians to come out and bands would come out, like a band would play a song or two, like a short set, and the comedians would come out and work on their material. And it was all, quote, indie comedians at the time. So this sort of scene that was sort of bubbling up in Brooklyn with the Yes or Interpol or the Strokes was also happening with these comedians. So they just started playing shows together, and bands started taking comedians out because it was a lot cheaper. It's easy to put a comedian in a car. And it just made the whole tour more fun. So that sort of started to happen. Then Fred moves because he was in, obviously, Trenchmouth. He moved to New York to get SNL, but he was still doing bits. He was still doing stand-up, and the Savy Fav took Fred out. He supported us. And it was this really nice intersection of comedians working on the material, failing or knocking it out of the park, and bands doing the same thing. So it sort of came together in this nice unity. And because of that, we're friends with a lot of these comedians, and they're very supportive of the music scene.
It's very cool. Very well said. I have to. So I lived in New York for 10 years, right on the tail end of that peak, like hipster folk movement in Brooklyn,
Right.
and then also right in the middle of the comedy, the indie, alt. Let's say alt.
Yeah.
That's the buzzword, right? And the amount, and that's how I don't know, navigated my way, because my friends were all comedians. Like, I was just in the middle. My friends were comedians,
Yeah.
my friends were musicians, and I was like, hey, I'll serve beer at your show, and then bother another mutual friend of Seth Meyers, Brooks Wheelan, who we're going to guilt into being on this podcast eventually. But yeah, man, I'm sure. I wonder if we've ever crossed paths. That'd be a wild thing to try to navigate.
I'm sure we have.
Very cool. Let's get back to dumb questions.
I love dumb questions.
Do you close the toilet before you flush the toilet?
I started doing this in the last 5 years.
Okay. And what made you start doing?
There's the photographer on the show. His name Lloyd Bishop, and I want to say he was a germaphobe, but he was like, oh man, he's got this real thick Scottish accent, and he's Jewish, and he says, I'm the only Scottish Jew in Scotland. And he's the best, but he also knows there's only 12 of us. Anyway, that's a whole separate, but he's really adamant about this concept. And we just have lunch. He's like, you got to put the toilet seat down, man. Every time this is my shitty Scottish accent. All the shit comes up and sprays all over the bathroom and just beat it into my brain. I was like, all right, man, let's fucking close it from now on. So yeah, we, everyone in the house closes the toilet seat when you flush it.
I'm going to think about this for the rest of my life.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can't unhear that.
And I love Lloyd, and I'm glad he does. Because there's a nice sort of tranquil thing now that is added to it. You feel like you're done. You finished. You've wrapped the bow.
Yeah.
You closed the seat. You flushed it.
I feel like you graduated from like looking at it to like, I don't need to, I've accomplished everything I need to do in life. I don't need to look at my movements.
Yeah, it's less German. I don't need to analyze my day so much. I already do that in my mind. I don't need to. I'm not a scientist.
Okay. Who was your first French kiss with?
Now that my daughter and my son have entered puberty, this question came up a bunch, but my first French kiss, my first makeout I was very young, too young. I was in the 6th grade, and the girl was in the 8th grade.
Older woman.
And she had Hubba Bubba bubble gum in her mouth. And we were at a party, and I had lied about my age. And she thought I was in the 7th grade, so it was kind of okay. But I was really in the 6th grade. But she didn't know that. And we went for a walk, and then we got to a stop sign, and she's like, well, we got to stop. And then she basically shoved her tongue down my throat. And then halfway through, she pulled out this big wad of Hubba Bubba. She's like, oh, sorry, threw the gum, and then went back to making out. But I was traumatized.
It's like a John Hughes film.
Yeah. And then she found out I was in the 6th grade and dumped me.
Oh, what a heartbreak. It's very poetic, though.
Yeah, Hubba Bubba. So now every time I smell the grape flavored Hubba Bubba, I'm sort of brought back to
That's the classiest Hubba Bubba.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you have any poetry on your bookshelf?
My daughter published a book of poetry,
Oh, wow. Cool.
so we're big house of poetry.
We are big fans of poetry as well. Is it available for purchase? Are you allowed to say?
Yeah. I'll go get a copy.
Awesome. I will
It's
gladly
called-
support.
It's called The Loudest Honey, and it was published when she was 14. She's a critically acclaimed, actually, she's won a lot of poetry awards. And so she was asked to put out this young, this small publisher was starting like a young, there she is at 14.
That's incredible, man.
Isn't that crazy?
What a great environment you've created to make. I remember the day I told my family I wanted to be a poet, and it was like coming out of the closet almost. It was like it was a wild scene.
No, you got to write poetry, man. It's such a blessing to have her in the house speaking. She writes a poem a day.
That's incredible.
Still this day, she writes a poem every day. She can't go to bed unless she's finished a poem.
Fucking A. That's
Yeah.
inspiring, and man.
No, she's one of a kind. She speaks Japanese, and she'll do it in Japanese. And you're just like, I can't even keep up. I can't even spell in English.
You're spelling it with an I.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Z, there's a Z in there for sure.
You know what's funny is when one of our guests says something profound or just like something that melts your heart, and then we got to follow it up with like a dumb. I'm gonna skip.
No, this is perfect.
Did you sign Local Natives?
I did.
We love Local Natives, and
Love Local Natives.
We love Kelsey Air. He's our buddy.
Love Kelsey. He's a father now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just had his and his wife, who I love to death. They just had a beautiful baby boy. But I love those guys. I love Local Natives with all my heart and soul. I love those guys. Yeah, we did the first 2 records.
It's phenomenal. They're one of the band, and I feel comfortable telling you this, where we got Kelsey on, again, mutual friends. It was a long time in the making, and then we got done with the interview, and Abby and I looked at each other because we've loved Local Natives for so long, and I remember exactly where I was when I first heard Airplanes, and I was like, I think we got something here. Like whatever we're doing in this dumb podcast, it's working because it's speaking to our sensibilities now, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, shit like that.
No, I think those guys they got it. And they drove from California to New York to play a show with Edward Sharpe at Bowery Ballroom. And their lawyer at the time, a good friend of mine, was like, you've got to see this band. So I was like, all right, cool. And I went and literally had shivers the entire time at their show. But I was blown away. And then I hung out a little bit afterwards. I was like, I'm signing you guys. This is a joke. The fact that you are unsigned, you just drove this. The fact that you drove to play these shows is the kind of band that I'm in love with, just in principle. And the fact that you're that good. And how has no one put out your record?
Wow.
So then they got on a plane and went to London. I got on a plane and followed them. I was like, I'm not taking no for an answer. And then they signed, and it was great. Yeah, we had this first 2 records. So the first time I heard Columbia off of Hummingbird, I was at Lollapalooza in Chicago and just stopped and just sobbed. I was like, this is the most beautiful song I've ever heard.
Wow.
Yeah, so good. Those 2 records, the first 2 Local Natives records are amazing.
They're perfect. I mean, yeah, they're so good. Speaking of first perfect records.
Yeah, first, that's right.
Something else, it's just to bring this matrixy episode around again, do-si-do. Abby and I, when we were in New York for the live show, Abby had never been, so we were bouncing around Brooklyn a little bit, and we were in Dumbo under the Manhattan Bridge, and this band was playing, this all-female band called Hello Mary, and they're on your label as well, right?
That's right. The record comes out this Friday.
Fucking A. This is a weird, wild world. And again, I know, like I said, the incestuous, like, music comedy podcast world, but how often does this happen? Tell us about Hello Mary for a second. Promote.
God, Hello Mary is they're awesome. They have such a bright future ahead of them. Yeah, the record comes out this Friday. They're total go-getters, super smart, really like what they're doing right now. And just couldn't be more excited about it. My daughter's almost apoplectic. She's so excited. She's obsessed with them. You know, Hello Mary was sort of the queens of this bubbling girl scene. I don't want to sort of make it sound small because it's not, but this very creative, intelligent community of young women, all ages, kids, trans, just this great community of kids. And they're sort of the queen bees of it. And my daughter just kept talking about him. And then my friend Robin was like, oh, you got to go see Hello Mary. And they opened for, God, some old man band. And I was just blown away. They're just such great musicians. They're on their path. I think, they're 20 years old or something, 19, 20. They're babies.
Yeah. And it was a cool, like, she had never been to New York, and I, like, that's my heart. And I, talk it up like an asshole. And I made her go, ride one of those Revel scooters way farther than we should have. And then we got off and we were like trying to find the bridge, and we just, like she said, followed the music. And it was like a cool first day, like, yeah, we're doing it. Fuck yeah. And then we looked them up, and I believe we've reached out to them to be on the pod. So let's revisit that.
Oh, they will do that in a heartbeat. Please. Yeah. Their record comes out Friday. They better do the podcast.
Oh, very cool. And okay. Important question. You have a good size leftover cake on your counter. Are you cutting a slice and eating that leftover cake, or are you taking a fork to it like a classy gentleman? More specifically, are you sitting down, getting up, taking one bite with the fork, going back and sitting down and justifying it in your brain?
I'm not doing that.
Okay.
I think to answer your question, it depends on the time of day.
Okay.
To be honest, if it's like dinner time and we have leftover cake, I'll slice it.
Okay.
If I come home at like too late, I'll just use a fork.
And are you standing over it?
If it's past midnight, I'm going to use a fork. Oh, definitely standing over it. And then feeling shitty that I'm having cake. I'm like, oh, now I got to go to the gym. And now I got to do this. And now I got to eat clean but it just keeps going. And then I'll get ice cream out of the freezer and then like match it up with the cake. And then the next morning I'll get mad at my wife. Like, why do we still have the cake? And then she's like, I saved it for you because I know how much you like cake. I'm not eating the cake. Then it becomes this whole conversation. And then I go downstairs the next day and I throw the cake away. Then the conversation is, why are you wasting food? And then I go, well, who made the cake? Well, you made the cake. And that's the thing. And that's 25 years of marriage.
I didn't. It seems this like a sensitive subject. I'm sorry.
That's totally not.
I do. Go ahead.
I have a question you should ask future podcasters. How do you load the dishwasher?
Oh, good question.
How do you do the dishes? How do you do the dishwasher? Do you pre-soak? Do you pre-wash? Do you line up the forks with the spoons? Do you put the forks up? Do you put how do you do that? Because that I've heard causes arguments. It hasn't caused an argument in my house, but I've heard it causes arguments at how people load the dishwasher.
I have too. And in my experience, I have tried to correct certain individuals. Specifically, I think we can all agree you don't put bowls up, right?
Yeah.
No.
Why would you put bowls up?
Who does that? Oh, no.
They put bowls down.
There's a person listening to this podcast when it comes out. They know exactly who they are. So this is what we're going to say.
I mean, I don't, maybe that person, we could have a discussion and they could try to help me understand the concept.
I think it's an impatient, like, I don't want to see the dishes in the dish, so I'll throw them in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, do you have a specific system?
Yeah, I try to, not very often. We have one of those top racks that goes out flat.
Okay.
So I'll try to just put all the spoons together and all the knives together. So when
Okay.
I take them out, when they're done, I can just scoop up the spoons and put them in this spoon drawer.
You don't have one of the where it's like the sleeves where you put it.
Yeah, I don't have that one. Yeah, but I know people that debate over that one. Do you put the knives up? Do you put the forks down? Do you put the spoons up? And I was like, I would put if I had it, I would probably put everything down because I don't want to reach for something and stab myself.
Yeah.
But you can't put the spoons together when you do that because then they spoon and
Right.
the back of one and the front of one don't get clean.
Got it.
Everything goes down.
Yeah. Good to know.
Is that a dog snoring? That sounds like a dog snoring to me.
Yes. We had 2 dogs and one, they both snore like
I thought that was your
style.
belly. I thought he was hungry for cake. And it was his belly.
Yeah. Yeah, they both snore. And this one snores. She makes noise constantly. Stops. Just constantly snores.
What is her name?
The one that's snoring close to me is called Meadow. And I'm going to be obnoxious and say she's a rescue.
That's perfect.
She's a rescue Frenchie. And we were surprised that her owner was going to put her down. So my wife was like, we got to save the dog. So we got her during the pandemic because our other dog was so lonely. It's so depressed because we just didn't have we weren't going to park. We weren't playing with other dogs. So we got her during the pandemic. She's very sweet, but she snores constantly.
It's so cute.
I have to make this joke. This is what I do for a living. You're like a bloodhound for snoring puppies, Abigail. Boom. How did you fucking realize? I would have never, ever put that noise together.
Because you're not a dog person.
I'm not.
If you were any dog person who's listening to that heard it earlier too and went, ooh, the dog's in the room, because he mentioned the dogs earlier too.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you sniffed it out.
Shh. Oh my God, look at that precious face.
I'll give you that one, cutie.
Hello.
She snores all the time, but why would you want to kill her?
No,
No.
never.
Why? That's like insane. Even I'm not even a dog person. Why?
So that's Meadow, and then this is my baby. This is the one that I love.
This is my favorite part of the podcast. Oh my goodness. Oh my God, look at your chubby little face.
This is Belle.
I like this is becoming a bit in each episode where it's like, all right, show us your
animals.
Show us your dog. It is adorable. I do appreciate it. I love it. Okay. This is maybe the toughest for you. Flea, Les Claypool, or Jocko?
And me.
Which is harder, Socrates or Plato, or the bass player or?
Okay, I'm gonna go with Flea.
Yeah.
But I don't want to. Of those 3 poisons, I will go with Flea. If I had to die with 3 of the poisons, I would take the Flea poison than the other 2.
He appreciates your support.
And I think Flea's a very nice guy. And I think the reason why I'm choosing Flea, I love Chad Smith, the drummer of the Chili Peppers. I think Flea is a nice human being. And I think that he has created and done a lot with both bass playing and performing while playing the bass. And I think that a lot of bass players don't do that, don't have a style. And I want to give Flea all the respect I have for him, even though I don't slap and pop as of my choice or brand of playing the bass. That was not the style I was raised with. but I think he's taken it to another level, and he performs in front of 50,000 people a night, and he gives it his all. So I'm going to go with Flea.
Who would you add to that list?
How much time do we have? Okay, I hate bass players that wear shorts while they play. That's a fucking no-no. I don't care how fucking hot it is, you don't wear shorts. And you don't wear sandals and shorts while you play bass.
Is that, I agree with you. Let me say this. I agree with you. Is this a logistical, like physical thing, or is this a Larry David, you just don't do it like while you're on an airplane type of thing?
It's like a Larry David thing.
Okay.
I think it's a Larry David thing. I find it to be just so not okay. I don't know what it is. Another bass player pet peeve I have is when a bass player has a 5-string bass but doesn't use that 5th string. Or like, just why do you have what's wrong with the 4 strings? You couldn't master the 4 strings. You had to be obnoxious and go 1 extra.
Oh, I like this.
Just master the rhythm. You're not playing guitar. You're mastering time, tempo, rhythm, pocket. You're trying to connect the guitar player and the vocals, or the saxophone. Don't get me started on the saxophone, and the drummer. You're creating musical instruments, notes for the drummer. You have to sit in this pocket. And that's the magic of the bass. It's not check me out. But going back to Flea, he's so good at check me out that you have to check him out. But the whole band is check me out. It's a fireworks. But in general, bass players, they're great bass player jokes. My favorite is, what does a bass player do after the show? Who cares? That's, my other favorite one. This guy goes to a Polynesian island and he lands and he hears drumming. It's fucking solo drumming. Goes to the hotel and he's like, oh, I just want to be on vacation. What's up with all the drumming? And the valet guy goes, oh, if the drumming stops, the worst. It's the worst. Later, he just checks in, goes to his room, blah, blah, blah. He's at the hotel bar later that night. He's like, man, I've been here for 10 hours. All I've heard is fucking drumming. And the bartender's like, yeah, if the drumming stops, it's the worst. You want to know. Goes, well, what happens? He goes, bass solo. So you just don't want those things. It's the bass player should just sit in a great place with the drummer and hang out. But you can be Paul Simon from The Clash, who was one of my idols.
Nice.
Like, his physical style is flawless on the bass. You never saw him playing shorts and sandals on a 5-string. He oozed sex. He oozed confidence, swagger. That's the kind of bass playing that you want. Physically.
What about Lemmy?
Oh, Lemmy's awesome. Are you kidding me? Fucking a monster up there.
Just checking.
Just owned it. Just fucking came out and was just like, amazing. Yeah, listen, unless you're like 300 pounds, you can play a 5-string. Like that, somehow visually, the appeal of that works. But you can't do this with you can't play your bass like this with a 5-string, and it just doesn't work. Do you know the Instagram handle Rigs of Dad?
I don't know.
Game changer.
It seems like something I should know. Let's do it.
I've changed your life. I just changed your life.
Rigs.
RIGS, Rigs of Dad.
Got it.
The best of the best. John Worcester. Gotta follow John Worcester. You gotta follow Rigs of Dad.
There's often times where more often I hate the internet, but then there's times like this. I just love the internet.
Yeah, that's right.
That is fun.
Yeah, Rigs of Dad. It's like every time it comes out, I sit down for a minute and it's like, I'm just going to absorb this. Catatonic Youths is another good one.
Follow that one.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Rigs of Dad is the writer who owns that is, I think, a genius. It's slightly mean. I'm sorry. slightly mean, but it describes my opinions very clearly.
I get it. I'm not a musician, but I get it on a level parallel to what we talked about with when someone hears you, oh, you like music? You should check out Bon Jovi. You're like, I want to, God, if I was younger, I would punch you in the face. Similar sense of angry sensibilities. This will totally clear things up. Brett Butler or Gerard Butler?
Brett Butler?
Brett Butler. Do you know who that is?
I don't know who Brett Butler is.
Grace Under Fire. She was a comedian, a female comedian.
Oh yeah, I know who she is. Yeah. Her name is Brett Butler.
Brett Butler.
I'm gonna go with Gerard Butler.
Okay. Syd Barrett or Sid Vicious?
Well, I'm gonna break up into two parts. I'm gonna say visually, I think Sid Vicious had it going on.
Yep.
Clearly, he couldn't play a note. So in terms of musical style, prowess, I'm gonna go with Mr. Pink Floyd, the early days.
I like it.
Yeah.
Do you keep butter in the fridge or on the counter?
On the counter.
Nice. What kind of butter were you rocking? Kerrygold, like a classy person, or are you going Land O'Lakes?
No, fuck that. Too old. No way, man. I live in Brooklyn. I want it straight from a friggin' farmer if I can get it.
Yeah.
No, I'm pretentious with my stuff. If I'm going to put it in my body, I want it to be the best.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we have butter on the counter. Very European. But yeah, we like not like the butter's butter.
Nice. It's good for you. I love it.
Yeah.
What kind of phone do you have? And how many spam calls a day do you get?
I have an iPhone.
Okay.
And I'll probably get one a week.
Man, what is that like? I am getting so many lately. I'm getting like 15 a day.
There's a reason for that, though.
Florida.
No, you bought a car recently. And they sell your stuff to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get one a week, maybe. It's definitely the joke of the car insurance or your,
Mm-hmm.
That one cooks in. And I also get like once every couple months, I'll get some Asian person. But that's it. My phone doesn't ring that often. So if it rings, I'm like, it's probably spam.
Yeah. Well, I like that it says like, it's spam, probably spam or whatever it says, but it just happens so many times a day. I'm trying to think of another bass question to get you going again, but I'll just say this.
You'll get me going.
I know, I love it. When's the last time you played stand-up bass? Upright bass. What's it called?
Probably 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
How do you feel about someone playing that full time? Like if someone came to the show?
I'm so impressed with it. I have a slight bias with like jazz brunch.
Jazz brunch. Okay.
I hate jazz brunch. I'm not a fan of going to brunch, which I don't do anymore because I have kids. I haven't done it in forever. But before I had kids and I cared about brunch, I hated going to a place that had jazz brunch.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to hear it. I was hungover. I just wanted to eat some pancakes or some eggs and have a cup of coffee at the Bloody Mary. I didn't want to hear like just too many jazz holes at 11 in the morning was just not my vibe.
There was a place in the West Village that I would go to, jazz brunch, that I would get dragged to, and now it was a famous place, again, decade ago. I'm trying to think of the name. It does get old. We're like, you can just put on top 40. We can just be fine with a Benedict and some, Pat Benatar. Boom. Yeah. Benedict and Benatar.
Yeah. Or just some conversation with your friends. Like, how was last night? Oh my God, that party was insane. It's funny. The thing with jazz that drives me the most crazy is that they're supposed to be listening to each other. And I feel like they don't actually listen to each other. Now, there's some great jazz musicians that actually are in the pocket and listen, but they're like cream of the crop. It's like a tough skill to have to get there. I feel like you could be a shitty rock musician and like get by and be like, oh, that's a Led Zeppelin sounding song, or I can connect to this. But it's either you're shitty at jazz or you're fucking amazing. And it just takes so long to get there. There's a jazz drummer who I think is one of the nicest human beings, one of the best drummers I've ever seen and played with. His name is Nate Smith. If you don't know who Nate Smith is, look up Nate Smith.
Why does that sound familiar?
God, he's just glow. I'll text him every once in a while and be like, if you're having a bad day, just let you know that you're the best there is.
And that's what you text him?
Yeah, I'm just like, if your parents are ever mad at you, have them call me because I'll fucking chew them out. Like, you are next level awesome. And he's on tour with his band. And if you have a chance to see Nate Smith and his band, do it. You just will feel good. Someone described it as this is so white, I'm so embarrassed I'm saying this, is the feeling you get when you take a ski boot off after and your foot's free and just kind of go, I feel so good. Like seeing Nate Smith play the drums, you get to see him play the drums and you just feel better in your life. That's how I think about Nate Smith.
I love that metaphor. I feel like Abby knows that metaphor quite well. Now I'm going to look this. I have so many notes.
Yeah, Nate Smith. Anyway, if he's playing, I'll go watch him play with his jazz band and feel transcendent, and my life will be better for it. But some high school jazz band or some college jazz band, I would rather clean up garbage in Brooklyn for the day. Sorry. You get me going.
I would agree with that though, because jazz is the toughest genre for me to like wrap my brain around.
Yeah. But you get a good jazz drummer, then it changes the game. Or just you get something about it. I don't know, Nate Smith. Look him up. Nate Smith.
Oh, definitely will. And it's kind of like improv comedy where it's like, you know, it can be very bad. And then there's a select few people. It is very good.
You're absolutely right. And it's amazing. It's amazing. But yeah,
How
I want
do
to
you-
hear some 9/5 mixed with it, just fucking, it can sound good, guys. It can sound good.
How do you feel about drum circles?
Listen, if Nate Smith was in a drum circle with Larnell Lewis and John Theodore from, Queens, and I don't know, I'd be fucking excited.
But they all have djembes still.
Nope. I'd keep driving. I don't want to smell that room.
Oh man, that's so fun. I had another funny question like that, but this is so fucking, we could keep going forever about just this very thing. This is the least favorite part of the podcast, but do you follow us on Instagram?
I don't, but I'm going to after this podcast performance.
Oh, it is a performance. Everyone follow Father in the Band.
I looked at it. I looked at it right before I started this podcast, and there was Sky
Wallace, yeah.
Sky Wallace. She seems really cool.
She's phenomenal. And this is just our way of shoehorning in a shameless self-promotion plug. Follow us. Also, follow Syd at SYDFKR, Syd French Kiss Records.
Right. Yeah, not fucker. It's not Syd Fucker. Syd French Kiss Records. And if you do follow me and you say, hey, I picked this up, I really enjoyed or I really hated your interview on Bothering with the Band, I'll send you some French Kiss merch. It's just a heads up.
Yes, follow Syd Fucker on Instagram. I had to do that. So we end every episode with a song from the guest. What do you want us to end this episode with of yours?
Yeah, how do you know? Let's go. Shit. I'll throw two. I'll promote the Savy Fav because my bandmates might get mad if I didn't. So there's a song called Hold On to Your Genre that I like and always have liked. And when we play it, which is rarely, I get really excited. In terms of outside of my scope, maybe something like a great bass line. I'm trying to think of like some great bass lines. Oh, here we go. Obstacle 1 from Interpol. I think that bass line is amazing. If you just listen to the bass line of Obstacle 1, with Carlos D, who's now doing new age music, but before he changed path to do new age music, this bass line from this song is still one of my favorite bass lines of all time.
Oh, very cool. I can't wait to listen to this right after this.
Yeah, the bass line, just try to listen to you can very clearly hear the bass. And then any Andy Rourke bass line from the Smiths is also my inspiration constantly. How he thinks about the bass is just next level.
Man, I feel like do you feel the bass doesn't get as much love as it should? Or do you think it gets an appropriate amount of love?
I think it needs more love. I don't think people understand it. Going back to your daughter, why she likes reggae, it's because of the bass.
Okay.
A bass frequency is a very large wave versus treble is a very short wave. So you can hear a car coming on the street, that's a big bass wave. If you want a party to get going, you turn the bass up because people will start moving. They feel connected to the rhythm, get excited. So here's my daughter. You got to eat that before Mom gets home.
It's the cake.
I'll get so much trouble. You have to say hi.
We can't wait to read Loudest Honey.
Come on, just give me 2 seconds. I've been talking. They're kind enough to interview me. Yeah, they're interviewing me for their podcast.
Hey guys, I don't know if they can hear me.
Are you wearing a Cure shirt?
She's wearing a Cure shirt. Yeah. Here, put this in your ear.
Okay.
Say something in Japanese to them.
Yeah. Why?
Because
I literally never met them before. Hi, I'm Lila.
Hey, what's
you
up?
Can say something like, say hi, I'm Lila in Japanese.
Do you guys really want me to say something in Japanese?
Yeah, your dad talked you up.
I've already pumped your book.
Oh, already? Okay, I guess you do know me a little bit. What should I say?
Can you say bothering the band? Can you say listen to bothering the band?
Bothering the band? Okay. Is that the name of the podcast?
Yeah.
Bothering the band を聞いてください。聞いてください。
Hell yeah.
私のお父さんはとても大好きです。お父さんはとてもすごくて、音楽が大好きで、ベースが大好きです。でも、私は音楽も大好きです。
Oh my God, that's incredible. That's incredible. We ask our favorite musicians very dumb questions. We're happy to have your dad on. We are also huge fans of poetry, and we're gonna buy your book as soon as this is over.
Yeah, buy my book.
Absolutely.
That's very kind of you.
Music they like. Can I ask them that? Are you done with your interview already?
No, why don't you ask them what kind of music they like?
What kind of music do you guys like?
Everything. I don't know. That's too hard of a question.
That means if you say everything, that means you have good music taste.
So Lila, this is the better way to ask that question to people like us and your dad is what kind of music did you listen to today? Or what band did you listen to today? Because it's just voracious over here of what we dive into.
What did you guys listen to today? What's a song you really liked that you heard today?
I did lo-fi. I did some lo-fi chill beats at work. But yesterday it was all punk rock because I needed to go. Yeah.
Let's go.
I sent Abby the new Black Belt Eagle Scout record.
How is that? I haven't heard it yet.
It's great. I love it. I sent her, I really like a band called Backseat Lovers right now.
I love Backseat Lovers. So good.
Love them. They're so good.
So good.
Then I sent her Palma Violets, which is kind of like punk rock.
So good. That first EP is so good. Was it best friend? What's that best friend?
Best friend is
Yeah.
Wow, man, they know their shit. I love this. Sorry, I cursed.
Well, but we should also tell her that we're fans of Hello Mary as well.
Yeah.
I love Hello Mary. They're so cool.
They're very good, very cool, and it's
They're
it's Matrixy kismet how this happened, and
Yeah. No one knows about Hello Mary. That's so cool.
You guys, I might lose you in a second. My computer's about to die and I can't find my power cord.
it's okay. This is the best way to end this podcast.
Perfect.
Syd, thank you. Lila, thank you.
Thanks for letting me come and say hi.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing Bothering the Band. Everyone.
Our pleasure.
Thank you. We'll email you about other stuff.
Please do. Stay in touch.
All right.
Bye,
Have a good night,
guys.
y'all.
Have a
See ya.
great night.
Don't be strangers when you're in Brooklyn.
Absolutely.
Okay, guys. See you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hold on to the genre. The genre's gotta hold on to. Hold on to your heritage. It's the only thing to hold on to. Hold on to your genre. Your genre's gotta hold on to. Get up on the pavement. 'Cause it's solid, it's hard to hold on to. There's a promise in the bathroom. Get her in the bathroom. You tell her little lie and then you try to get us in your bedroom. We live our little life and then you try to say you're dead too. I've been checking the seams of your red velvet blazer. Now I'm haunted by dreams of the things I found in there. All the rabbits you vanished, all the cars that you killed, all the dogs that you banished, with too many pills, pills, pills. Together, forever, the pity, the pleasure, the privilege, the pressure, the arteries we sever, the stillness that chills us, that chills how we crave. The stillness will fill us when we fill in our grave. I never wanted something like nothing half as much. I'd gladly trade my state for melody and such. But once the stuff is buzzing, the lights inside my head, can I please have truly nothing? Once before I'm dead.